All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This is going to be AgileBlue's 2024 roadmap review and AI strategy, which I know is important to just about everybody out there. My name is Tony Petrocola. I am president and co-founder of AgileBlue. Obviously, I hit the record button, so anything I say, Steve, who's joining us today, will have to carry out from a technical perspective. So joining me to do this presentation is Steve Smith, our Chief Technology Officer. Steve, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So Steve is now trembling as to what I might say, considering we are being recorded. But look, everyone, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to join us for this roadmap call. We do this every year. We do this for you, our customers, right? There's no other reason we're in business but to be invaluable partners to you. So today we want to take a few minutes, talk a little bit about what we're going to be adding at the end here, Q4, and then what we're going to be adding in 2024, and talk a little bit about our AI strategy. Somebody actually already had a question before we started, so that's a good thing. And the question was, will the deck and the recording be made available? Yes, everybody who signed up will receive an email with both the deck, probably a link to the deck, and the recording. If you want to share it with anybody, please go ahead. Nothing in the deck is confidential. This is all now being published. So this roadmap is set in stone. So now we got to do what we say, right? Today's call, like I just said, is for you guys. It's for the customers. This is to show you how we think about not just our platform, but as we're looking at cybersecurity moving forward into 2024. And with the advent of new technologies, crazy new hacks, like we just saw that 23andMe not just hacked, but also potentially all that data getting disseminated. So not just data, but maybe DNA. That sounds pretty dangerous in the hands of criminals. So as we see the price of everything moving up, how rapid these cyber attacks are happening, and more importantly, at the most critical and confidential information we're seeing, with new tactics such as AI and deep fakes and all these things that we're starting to see come out, it's never been more important to make sure that the company you trust 24/7 is not just keeping up with what's going on in cyber, but leading the way, innovating our technology to make sure we're not only able to detect what's out there, more importantly, we can respond and respond fast. And whether we're doing that through our automated technologies or with our 24/7 team, we are always here for you guys. So this is all about you. This is all about our customers feeling secure. It's all about our customers having confidence in what we're doing every single day of the week. And that's what drives our company. The one thing I do want to mention before we dive into technology is our commitment to you. And like we talk about all the time, our goal is to earn your trust every single day of the week. Every single day. We don't say, hey, we've earned your trust when you sign the contract, or maybe when we escalate a couple things to you. It's every single day. And we have monthly review calls with our clients, right? And that monthly review call is not to sell you anything new. It's not to go over some boring reports with you. It's to actually give you guys action items, best practices that we see that you're not using. Go over those risk scores, understand some of those best practices so you could actually increase your cyber posture. Whether that call goes 11 minutes one month or 30 minutes the next, it's all about increasing your security posture, and it's all about the visibility we're providing on your entire infrastructure. So I think I said about 89% of our customers take advantage of this every single month. I hope it's 100. Our customer success team will be working with you to make sure these are scheduled. I will tell you, our customers that do these regularly have absolutely not only increased their cyber posture, they've actually taken proactive measures to stop or at least mitigate some of these cyber attacks. So these calls are supposed to be consultative with recommendations, not just go over a report. I just want everybody to understand that our team is here for you guys, not just 24/7, but every single month to talk about how we can make hopefully your infrastructure a lot more secure. I also want to take a point to mention that when you look at our platform, we see it from a perspective of incredible functionality with a great team, okay? We don't see it as these shiny bells and whistles that you see all over the place, great marketing stuff. Two things. I was in Las Vegas last week for AWS reInvent. Obviously, we are part of the AWS infrastructure, so we were there. And I saw a lot of cyber companies, renting out the Sphere. Sphere's cool. Sphere costs lots and lots of money, millions and millions of dollars to put your name on, to put some catchy marketing phrase. But when it comes to being shiny and marketing and all this great advertising, that's fine. AgileBlue goes the other way, though. We take our resources, our team, our money, we invested in our technology and our people, right? And what I really want us to focus on with our technology, and I think a couple of messages for you to take away from as our, incredible customers. Number one, we always focus on the proactive. It's not just about finding an alert and responding to it, or finding an alert and escalating it to you. That's all reactive. We focus on the proactive to continually do scans externally and internally, help you understand what your cyber risk looks like, give you a great visibility of everything that we see from a vulnerability perspective, from a gap perspective, and then hopefully have recommendations where you can reduce those gaps. That proactiveness, we think, leads to less alerts, less true positives, obviously less false positives, and less response, because we're making things much more secure early on. Number two, we're building our SOAR from the ground up. You've seen lots of articles recently of companies acquiring SOAR products, integrating SOAR products, and that's great. And I'm sure they're going to do fine with those. But we all know what happens as technologists with clunky integrations. Sometimes they're tough. Sometimes they could lead to problems. Sometimes they don't work necessarily as you might expect. We build our stuff from the ground up, and the reason we do that is so we can control that technology. We can customize it to what you need as an organization, not what all of our hundreds of customers need. That gives us the ability to really provide the orchestration and auto response that you expect. And then finally, I happen to be in DC today, right? Usually I do this, you see our office behind us. Now you see our lovely banner, because I'm in Washington, DC. And I'm at some meetings, and these meetings, of course, focus on AI. And by the way, if anybody ever creates a drinking game where if you hear AI, you got to take a drink, all of us are in trouble, because I was in a coffee shop the other day and they're talking about AI. It's crazy. But I was at this meeting and they were talking about a very important RFP that's coming out in a government department. We'll keep all names out of this. And the RFP is kind of assembled and are getting some feedback from people. And they mention at the end, like, oh, we got to get AI into this. And I raised my hand and I said, in what capacity? Because obviously, if it's in some capacity we don't provide, obviously we might not be part of this. And the gentleman said, I don't know what capacity, but everybody's talking about it. We got to get it in there. So that's scary, because, if you don't know what you're asking for, how do you know if you're actually going to be receiving it? So when it comes to AI, we look at AI in two specific places. Generative AI, which is what you see all day with ChatGPT or Bard, the ability for an AI assistant to help you do something where maybe you don't want to get another human being involved, even though our team is here 24/7 for you. But number two, the phrase co-pilot, right? Being able to take actions, being able to action something and respond to something. This is what makes AI so incredibly important and needed, right? And we'll be talking about this in a few minutes when we introduce to you Sapphire, our AI technology. So before we launch 2024 roadmap, we got to launch some incredible pieces of platform functionality, foundational pieces that we'll deliver here in the next couple of weeks, right? Q4, as we wrap up going into the holidays. And Steve, why don't you talk about some of the three most important things we'll be delivering here in Q4, and then we'll set the stage for our 2024 roadmap.
Yeah, sure. So some of the big items that we're working on currently, and we're going to be looking at delivering out here in Q4. One of them is more or less our automated decisioning kind of system, a part of Sapphire. The process for this is to be able to take more or less all the log data as well as alerts and have all these sources be correlated together. And then through that process, finding out what is important, either it be files, processes created, external IP addresses that are being accessed, DLLs are loaded or injected, and kind of bring all of these items together to then build out more or less what are artifacts, which are just what are the important values that need further research or further enrichment to. And through more or less, leveraging LLMs and some other algorithms to be able to extract out from, 100,000 logs and events, what are the most important items that we need to go and review more. And through that kind of process, it's then able to make that kind of determination on what's important, proceed to enrich that information. So now that's feeding from third-party threat intelligence, from any of the different threat feeds from, I think Alien Vault's OTX or Recorded Future or Anomali, to kind of enrich that information and then be able to present more of a clearer picture as to what's happening, as well as evaluating the probability that this alert is actually malicious or not. With that kind of built-in process that flows into that automated response component, which, if anyone kind of deals in SOAR response playbooks, one of the big kind of hindrances there is you have to kind of build them out to begin with. And they change, you have to maintain, you have to update. So part of our process that we have also is kind of incorporating where it seems best fits more a little bit AI or LLMs into the process to kind of actually just build out how to respond to an item. So that could be running commands, isolating a host, blocking a 365 account, the myriad of response capabilities kind of continues on. And this is a way that, regardless of log type or source, it can then stretch kind of the full end to end of that incident of all the events that have happened and how to appropriately respond to those events. And then with both of these two components, as they kind of work through themselves, they kind of roll up into what we now have as, a generative case summary. And this is meant to kind of give more context and kind of enable analysts or even customers themselves, if they're reviewing cases, to get a better picture of what's going on without having to go and look at raw logs or try to figure out all the different values in a JSON document. It kind of brings that context right up front. So that way, the moment you get into a case or we have to review something or you're reviewing it yourself, you automatically have a overview of what's going on, what are the important items, what is it found, and then how you can proceed further from that kind of point.
Yeah, that's great, Steve. And when Steve says the LLMs, I'm always one of those people that like to define acronyms because there's, I think, 11,346,000 of them in our industry. LLMs, large language models, obviously they're synonymous every day. We kind of hear them, but I always want to just make sure we define that. Steve, thanks for that. And this becomes our decisioning, the response, the case summaries become the foundation of how we start building out our AI into the AgileBlue, into our AgileBlue technology. Also, we'll launch at the end of this quarter, which obviously is like 3 or 4 weeks away. It's crazy. The year's done. But our vCISO team will be using more features in Security Scorecard, which everybody on this call, every client gets when they're working with us, to use the insights that Security Scorecard's seeing to understand these trends and analysis. And by the way, understanding these scores and analysis before your insurance company sees them, or maybe even a regulator if compliance is important to you. But also taking a step back and using this data to help our vCISO team that's working with so many of you understand, do 365 reviews, right? Configurations, setups. The number one way 365 or any cloud is compromised is misconfiguration. It's not being malicious. It's just being negligent. There's, trillions of little levers to press and settings to do. So those reviews of 365 cloud configurations to help our customers tighten those up using all the tools at our disposal before something is obviously made vulnerable and made accessible to the outside world. So these are some things you'll see in Q4. We'll schedule calls with our clients like we normally do to walk them through some of this new technology, how it will impact them individually, right? We always do calls with our clients to show them everything in that we're launching, but then our team will do specific calls with each one to show them how it's specifically affecting you. And by the way, that's our commitment to our clients. It's not just we have thousands of customers and This is the way you get it, and you better like it. We're very focused on our customers. We have the ability to take a more customized approach and really show you how we're doing things specific for you, not just how we're doing things for everybody. Steve, thanks for walking us through that.
Mhm.
The other thing we'll be launching in Q4, and I'll show you a sneak peek today, is Sapphire. And Sapphire, it's a wonderful name, and Sapphire is AgileBlue's generative AI support assistant. And we'll talk about where Sapphire is going to be when we launch it in the next couple of weeks, and then obviously where we're going to go in 2024. But the way that we look at AI here at AgileBlue, it's not a job killer. It's not that, you know, when you call somebody at AgileBlue, you're going to get just a computer talking back to you. It's basically going to be Steve and I and then a machine running. That's not what our plans at all. It's not how we see AI. But we do see AI as being able to absolutely help when it comes to cybersecurity, right? We look at AI as the ability to augment or replace mundane, human, which could be slow workflows. Steve talked a little bit about parsing log files, you know, doing these correlations. It's not going to kill jobs. It's not going to take humans away. Our 24/7 team is always there for you. And by the way, it's getting bigger. It's not getting smaller. But AI is going to help us take those mundane workflows, remove those, automate those. That means our escalations are going to be faster. Our degree of confidence in scoring around a true positive versus a false positive are going to go up. We're going to show you some information on this. And then the ability to take a response action is going to obviously increase as well. So we've spent the last, I don't know, number of months developing Sapphire. We've actually built Sapphire on the Anthropic Claude LLM, large language model, and we'll continue to build out on top of that tremendous technology. And I'm sure there's going to be other ones we're going to use as well. It's a very dynamic marketplace, as we all saw. And as we all saw with what happened with OpenAI ChatGPT recently as well. Things move very, very quickly in this obviously growing piece of technology. But when you look at what Sapphire is going to start with, the ability to understand installations, what needs to be done next, any questions a customer might have on installations, or is my server up, or are we monitoring this? Is 365 being monitored right now? Those level 1, level 2 support cases that sometimes can go back and forth via email, sometimes could be phone calls, they could be Slack messages, whatever, the ability to drive them through Sapphire. And here's the great part. All of this generative AI is excellent. It saves time and energy. It puts the power into the hands of you, the customer. But what this does, it sets the stage to take all this great information, and then phase 2, incredible insights, then being able to action these items where Sapphire can respond in an automatic way when we have a high degree of confidence in something. And this is where we're going to be getting to in phase 1 and Q1 and Q2. And we'll talk about the roadmap here in a second that Steve will walk us through. But I just wanted to give you a sense of what Sapphire is going to look like. We all, those of you on this call who are customers, we have some folks who probably aren't customers as well on this call. Our general dashboard, as everybody can see. You see Sapphire here right now. Trust me, Sapphire might get a little bit more, I don't know, intense. Maybe it'll spin, maybe it'll move. I just want to make sure we can call it out for you. Right now, it's very subtle. It can get a little more obnoxious. And Sapphire is here to work with you, right? You know, as I type and look for Sapphire to come up with a response. And by the way, folks, I'm in a hotel, like I mentioned, in Washington, D.C. Apologize if the Wi-Fi is a tad slow. Apparently, Marriott's only have 3 out of 4 bars these days. But if I want to ask, you know, if I look at my cyber score one day, maybe it's 11 o'clock at night, I'm bored, or I have insomnia, and I want to say, man, my cyber risk score looks awful. How can I improve it? I can definitely put a request into the 24/7 team. I can wait till the morning to call my rep. I can do whatever. But if I just want to try to figure things out on myself, which a lot of folks on this call do, right? Technologists, we like to dabble, we like to play around. Sapphire is there to help. It's not there to let you read a lengthy article. If you played around with ChatGPT, if you played around with Bard or some of the other ones you've seen out there, it works the same exact way. Our goal is to get you what you need when you need it, and give you the ability to do this at your beck and call. So as we start launching Sapphire to our customer base, to our beta customers, and then as we make a couple adjustments and then move it all on, We will advise everybody like we normally do, and then we'll walk you through it like I said we would on an individual basis. But Sapphire is there to serve you, not to replace anybody you've dealt with. If you never want to use Sapphire, don't use Sapphire. Keep calling the person that you work with, whoever that might be. But Sapphire is there to make everybody's lives a little bit easier. So happy to take questions when it comes to the Q&A time. If anybody has a question on Sapphire and where we're going with it. And if you like the name, great, because I think it's kind of cool. And I like the capital A and the I, right, Steve? It just, AI, it's marketing, man.
Just shines like a sapphire.
Shines. Absolutely. Okay. So before we dive into the roadmap, which we're going to do here in 2 minutes, I just want to give a little bit of background on some research and some of the new things that you're starting to see when it comes to AI in cybersecurity, right? Everybody can talk about how great it is and what it's trying to do. But if you don't take a step or two back and just talk about where some of these things are advancing and maybe lay out some of these things, it can get a little misplaced. Or you can think AI is just going to revolutionize everything and everybody's going to be doing it, thus we have to do it. Like in DC, in that RFP, just put has to do AI. That doesn't work these days. So when you look at where the industry has been doing some research and testing, where AgileBlue has been doing some research and testing, and I'm sure competitors of ours have been doing research and testing of where this AI and these large language models are going and what the initial results are versus standard machine learning algorithms and rule sets that you tend to see today. AgileBlue is built on a lot of machine learning. There's other things out there that are built on rule sets, but you can see in using some of these newer models, the SecurityBert AI with the Falcon LLM model, it can understand and detect cyber threats with a response with about 98% accuracy in this initial 3-4 months, 5 months or so of testing. So when you look at where traditional machine learning was in the high 70s into the 80s, the deep learning models, especially some of the things AgileBlue uses, which gets you into those mid 80s into the low 90s. And then all of a sudden looking where large language models like Steve referenced earlier, like we'll talk about a little bit here, you're seeing confidence and accuracy improving into the 98 to 99 percentile, right? You're never going to see something 100%. That's not the way this works. 98 to 99, that's pretty darn good. And you're going to see how this not only increases accuracy and confidence, more importantly, this is going to lead to speed to detect, speed to respond, which obviously mitigates the risk every one of you have, whether it's at the endpoint level, the cloud level, network level. And that's the point of testing this new stuff. A question did come through, and I will answer because I do think it's a great question, and it's coming along the lines. Will Sapphire be included in all subscriptions that AgileBlue makes, and whatever obviously you guys have? We do have a couple different flavors. If so, will existing costs be going up? Well, I think we've seen in this world, all costs have gone up, just period, right? I mean, I think we've all seen that just going to the grocery store. But it doesn't matter which subscription you have of AgileBlue. When you log into your portal, you're going to have Sapphire. Sapphire will be available for you in today's generative AI evolution. And then as we evolve into more co-pilots and response, that's going to be available for you. So hopefully you guys like that answer. When we develop technology, it's not to say, look at all this great stuff. Now you got to sign up for the Mercedes-Benz. And you say, but I'm at this great, this awesome Ford right here. Why would I want to sign up for something I might not need? Well, we're not going to trick you into things. You're going to get some of the latest functionalities we relaunch because Sapphire is going to be important to cybersecurity. So Steve, a couple of these analysis that we put out and seeing how LLMs and AI can affect both processing tasks and interpretation tasks. Maybe just talk for a couple minutes on each slide this way, and then we'll dive into the roadmap with the rest of our time, where LLMs and AI help, but also where we still need humans to make sure we're doing it the right way.
Yeah. So when it comes to kind of those LLMs, as amazing and pretty magical as they can appear, there's kind of a place of, where do you put it in your workflow? Where does it best make kind of sense to place it? How does it operate? And where does it kind of, offload some effort from your humans or analysts in our case. So when you think about kind of where LLMs do the best work, currently in their current phase is mainly when you deal with a huge high volume of data, but the complexity or what we could say is like critical thinking or complex structures is pretty low. So that could be summarizing information or asking a little bit more on what does certain things mean, more simple kind of tasks or processes. Where they start to fail or their accuracy kind of decreases a bit is when you get to more complicated topics. And that could be how did an attacker get access into the system based on these parameters and these variables and all these other little items, and what is this attacker attempting to do? That's where it gets a little too complex for LLMs to actually be able to provide something that's accurate or representative of what's happening. And that's kind of where you need a human to kind of intervene. So kind of how this plot lays out is more or less when you have high amounts of data, but it's pretty much a simple to a semi-complicated task. You can lean on an LLM a lot more than you need a human. But as that task gets more complicated, then you want to start to lean a little bit more on a human. And then when it kind of, and then those processes kind of lead into how do you interpret what's actually happening. And it kind of still follows the same kind of principle, which is, simpler tasks can lead to simpler interpretations, which gives a little bit more of a trustworthy response. But then as those tasks get complicated, that then leads to how those LLMs interpret it. They start to get a little bit less confident, or they start to, as everyone likes to say, is hallucinate a little bit. And in this section, it's kind of important to figure out where, when you're placing it for your processes, where they best would meet, but then how you interpret that input and output, because you don't want to place an LLM as the kind of master of everything that just does every single thing with no human intervention. And then it has a hallucination because of time or exactly how complicated the problem is. And now you're suffering a huge, massive issue. So it's always about striking that right balance between when to use the LLM as a tool and when do humans need to also kind of intervene or play more of a role in that kind of task.
Yep. No, that's great, Steve. And I think that message comes through. When we look at our roadmap, which we'll be getting to in a second, LLMs is going to help us increase our technology. It's going to help us become more accurate and more responsive. But humans will never go away. Our team is there 24/7 to take things to that next level, to be there for you. They're your 24/7 cybersecurity team. That's what you need. That's what you've asked us to provide, and that's what we will always provide. So the advance of LLMs and utilizing them in our architectures is only going to make our humans that work for you at AgileBlue much more efficient, much more effective, and quicker to respond to everything that we see. So this initial research, this initial outputs is extremely promising, right? It's giving us more tools to combat the cyber criminals that, to be candid, have already started using these things. And unfortunately, they're having success. So it now comes to us to produce the same. Okay, let's talk about our roadmap. We wanted to give you guys the structure of what we're launching in Q4, a little bit of overview on Sapphire as well, where these LLMs and AI are starting to take shape specifically for cyber and some of the early results of that testing. And now we're going to dive into our product roadmap. So as we look at our roadmap over Q1 all the way through Q4 of 2024, you'll also see some things moving in and out. We're going to, generally we reserve places to add things customers ask for. We're in a very dynamic industry. Things change. So we might be pulling some things in. Some things might move a little bit, but generally, when you look at our history, when we published a roadmap, we generally hit our roadmap. And actually, we generally add things during the year because obviously, if you think you're going to walk into a year in cybersecurity and everything's locked down, you lost and we never want to lose, right? So we're constantly able to be dynamic, and our teams, our engineering teams are understanding of that. So let's talk about Q1. When we dive into Q1, really you see two major components to our roadmap delivery. Something we call Sapphire AI Response and something we call Sapphire AI Insights. Steve, do me a favor, walk us through Response a little bit, talk a little bit about playbooks. You mentioned it earlier, but how is Sapphire AI Response going to be able to take what we're doing now into a much more impressive level for our customers?
Yeah. So for our AI response from Sapphire, it's going to be able to take kind of any of those response, historically response playbook of how do you handle an incident, how do you manage it, how do you do all the things to make so whatever compromise you had is no longer a compromise. So with our Sapphire AI response, part of that's coming out in Q4 this year, and then it's going to be then more further refined within Q1, is it's going to just more or less take how to respond to an incident, how to respond to problems, and more or less automate that for you and give you a nice little build out of exactly, hey, this is what happened, but here's how you fix that. Here's how you remediate this problem. Here are additional things you can use into the future. And then that's also incorporated with inside of that Sapphire chatbot. So if you have an item, a question about a case or how to do those things, you can also go ask it, which will kind of give you the exact same answer that you might see with inside of that playbook with inside your case or alert. But yeah.
So another piece to bring up that Steve just mentioned is, here's something that happened. Here's how we responded to it. Here's what you should do next. Obviously, the way we're building our technology is for each individual customer. So your data will be assessed with your LLM, right? And it's not going to be some generic thing like, hey, next time you need to use MFA. I know that's a bad example, but it's kind of a generic one you see every day of the week. Change your passwords, use MFA, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Now, if I'm using that, what do I do next? As Sapphire understands what's happening, deeper dives into those insights to now say, hey, we know everything about you. We know all your logs. We know what you best practices you're utilizing, or maybe more importantly, not utilizing. Here's what happened. Here's why. Here's what we did. Now, here's what we can do in the future to avoid this. And that type of insight becomes much more than just understanding a potential issue and responding to it, but constantly working to make sure you're tightening your security posture the best that we can, right? And that's where these insights really, really pay off. And when you think about Sapphire Insights, diving deeper into that data, it's using all the data at our disposal. And we have so much of that data, so much telemetry that we can make sense of, that we can correlate between your entire digital infrastructure to totally understand where there could be specific problems. So as we look at launching Response and AI Insights in Q1, you're going to see Sapphire beginning to move from a generative AI support assistant into much more of a co-pilot, where Sapphire is able to make decisions and respond to our customers. And by the way, I hear this from customers all the time when we start talking about AI and automation. We still build playbooks where if you don't want automation, where you want a human being to understand it, to research, to click a button, that's fine too. We're built for that. We provide both. We support both, because both of those do have a place in cybersecurity. Okay. So Q1, we lock in AI Insights and Response into Sapphire. We start moving into Q2, and you'll see automated response for third parties. Here's something we've always done at AgileBlue. At no additional cost, we will integrate whatever you're currently using into your security stack, whether that's an IAM or a different EDR, or maybe you're using some different other types of tools that your firewalls, whatever it might be that you want integrated into the platform. We do those for our customers. We do all those integrations. Well, next, if we're not going to force you to use our XDR and you're using a different one, like Defender or CrowdStrike or whatever it might be, and then obviously you're probably using cloud technologies, maybe it's G Suite or GCP, maybe it's Azure, probably is 365 for sure, maybe it's AWS as well. We want to be able to respond with our most popular third-party integrations, right? You as our customer expect that. We're ingesting the data. We're understanding the data. We're currently interfacing with the data. Well, now comes that auto response for that data into those third parties. And I'm making a broad brush stroke here, but I have to think 100% of our customers are using some other cybersecurity providers, right? That's great. We're going to bring those automated technologies and that SOAR capability into those third-party providers. AgileBlue is not an insular provider, right? We're making sure your entire infrastructure can properly be supported by us, which is what we're doing. And then we talked about Sapphire from support to Copilot, being able to do more things than just gender like we talked about. Bullet number 2 is a huge deal for our team and for yours. Nobody likes to sign a contract with a technology provider that starts the clock going on an installation process that never, ever ends, right? We've all been through it. We all have horror stories of technology taking months, maybe even longer to implement. AgileBlue will be rolling out in Q2 a one-click installation and policy creation for our clients. So when we install something, whether it's a new version, whether it's a fresh install, less and less onus will be on you and your teams, which are already stretched, and we know it. And more of that pressure is going to be on ours and our technology to do that. And we've developed the technology to do that. Obviously, we're going to be refining it and making sure it's perfect. But that is a huge pledge to our customers to make sure you know when you sign on to work with AgileBlue and you're working with AgileBlue, we don't need your team who's already strapped, right? We might need you for some credentials and some access and some authorities, which you'll provide and you can take away. But at the end of the day, we're doing this heavy lifting for you. That's why you're working with a company like AgileBlue. And by the way, you're not going to get a surprise bill from us that says, hey, we just did 4 hours of work doing something for you. Pony it up. You know what you pay every month with us. You've already signed our agreement. This helps AgileBlue hopefully stand out to you. Also, any response actions that Sapphire takes or our team takes, obviously they're going to be communicated to you as it's happening. It's not like 4 hours later and be like, oh yeah, we isolated some devices for you because it looked kind of crazy. No, you're going to know what's happening play by play, whether you're in the office or not, whether you're checking your email or not, whatever it might be. We're going to be rolling these things out to you. And then obviously the ability to not just remediate, to isolate, but also to get a device back into production as long as everybody's confident that that device isn't compromised very, very fast, right? That's that evolution of where we're going in Q2 with Sapphire and our AI technology. As we get into 3, Steve, talk a little bit about dynamic orchestration, how that's going to work for our technology, how that's going to be beneficial for our customers.
Yeah, so dynamic orchestration, our plan here and what we're going to be releasing is to allow a little bit more abilities through Sapphire Insight and Sapphire Response. This is going to look at cases across more or less your client base or yourself to then be able to picture and view based on those cases, the different types of security incidents that might be happening, what's very common, what's happening the most, what machines are affected the most potentially, and then be able to then build upon our response and our insights to add more or less a notification to you to say, hey, we're seeing that of all your instances, they're coming mainly from these few machines. Here's some additional things you should try to do in order to secure those based on what we're seeing, as well as be able to automatically kind of build in a little bit more accuracy with inside of taking an automated response. So you can then turn into more or less a fully automated system to have Sapphire more or less handle the case from the alert initiating all the way to remediation efforts right off the bat. And this allows more or less that mean time to detection to come down, but also means the mean time to remediation or response also dramatically drops. Because as a system can do something in a second or two, a human might take a little bit longer because there's some validation and vetting, and they have to approve and select items and kind of go through a process. So there's a little bit of time that where a malicious actor can be on a system for some period of time before it gets remediated. And this dynamic orchestration is built upon being able to automatically handle those types of incidences the moment they appear And then more or less now we're getting an after action report to show, hey, this happened. Here's all the steps that were taken. Here's the response. Here's that kind of outcome, allowing, you guys to have a little bit better confidence that, if something does happen, it's gonna be handled and remediated and corrected in seconds and maybe not in minutes.
Yep. No, it's a great point, Steve. And look, a lot of companies can monitor. You can monitor everything. Look, for our customers, we monitor everything, not just endpoints or network, but your cloud, your entire infrastructure, right? That becomes important. Then the next step is, what can you detect? And the answer should be anything anomalous, right? We're able to detect things that start coming outside of normalcy that we know are a problem. And then the next step is dynamically orchestrating a response to those actions, right? Just not have a bunch of people sitting in an office somewhere or at home, whatever it might be, working, scrambling to figure out what needs to happen next. We've already had these technologies, but as we implement more of our AI strategy, more of the LLMs that we had discussed a slide or two ago, you could see this all now coming together where we're ingesting so much more data and be able to make so much more accurate decisions in such a compressed time frame. And that is when the magic happens, where not only do we have the ability to hopefully stop so many things, hopefully all, but we all know that doesn't necessarily work in cyber. But the key is mitigation. If we could take that risk and mitigate it down to a device, mitigate it down to an instance, we have the ability to really stop something in its tracks before it becomes a larger problem for our organization. And everybody associates these attacks as ransomware and locking up your data and ransoming it back to you and all that stuff. Sure, that's a huge problem. We know it happens every day of the week, many times a day. Disruption is a key, though. We're seeing way more disruptive technologies taking businesses down, disrupting your flow, stopping your organization from processing correctly. That is such a huge disruption. So our tools, as you can see, are not just meant for greater accuracy or speed, but to minimize any type of disruption, any type of impact by mitigating that risk down to a device. And that for us helps us to become much more responsive for our customers. A couple of other things we'll do in Q3, customizable dashboard panels. Our current portal, customers want the ability to move things in or out, what makes most sense for them. Again, everybody's a little bit different, so we'll do that. And then more cloud security posture management, where it's not just monitoring your cloud, but understanding as we juxtapose your configurations in the top 3 cloud providers, juxtaposing that to CIS best practices, having you understand where those vulnerabilities and risks lie. And then more importantly, being able to that day, or at least during our monthly calls, walk through where we might have some issues. And then as we get into Q4, the road starts winding out, the years progressed, more remediation into that cloud security posture management. So not just understanding where you have misconfigurations and potential issues, potential vulnerabilities and gaps, but then being able to, if you want, have those configurations change to a best practice. Of course, alerting to you what's happened, showing you why this needed to happen, and doing that in an automated fashion as well. And then more ability to drive AI into analysis of every single thing we do. Look, we all know that it's a buzzword and we're hearing it, but the technology is real, the technology is there, and the technology is showing really good things that's happening. So we're going to harness it and utilize it to the best of our abilities, and then commingle that with our 24/7 team. So we have a bunch of questions that have come in. I'm going to answer those as we go. I just want to take a second to kind of show our infrastructure again. If you remember way back when we were trying to sell you during the sales process, we have this beautiful looking screen, and it talks about your business, whatever your business looks like, on-prem, hybrid, multi-cloud, remote workers, everything, applications, APIs, whatever your business looks like. You know how we gather the data, but our Cerulean AI-powered platform now is starting to really come to light. We got great partnerships with Elastic that provides our SIM. We're powered in the AWS cloud, which to us as is the best cloud there is. And then when you look at the components that we bring to the table for you, adding Sapphire to our platform to go along with the SOAR, the SIM, vulnerability scanning, your 24/7 team with that XDR technology. Hopefully you can see this platform is being built out in a way that gives you everything you need to power your cybersecurity program, not just into 2024, but really into the future, and how we're going to secure that future using technology and people. All right, with that, I'm going to shut up. Been babbling for 47 minutes. Hopefully there's some good stuff that you guys learned today. Let's answer some questions. So we already answered a couple. Question, I guess, number 3 now is, will Sapphire be able to take a command from a customer and execute on it? That's something you're going to start seeing as Sapphire becomes Copilot. Now, there's some complexities with that. There's permissions. There's who has the ability to interface with Sapphire from a permission perspective. There's who has the ability to maybe issue commands via Sapphire. So as we continue to push Sapphire out, work with our clients on expected functionalities, that is something that you will be able to do as long as we have the right credentials and permissioning and things like that. But if you notice something first and ask Sapphire to react, that's something you should have the ability to do, just like our team would utilize it as well. Next question, will Sapphire become available to customers? You mentioned rolling it out this quarter. Yeah, we'll roll it out in Q4 to the beta customers. So like we do every time we launch, we'll have our QA, we'll have some customers utilize it first. And then based on the number of customers we have, we'll launch it in tranches. Okay. And then our customer success team will work with you to let you know what we launched, how you can work with it, and do any training that you require. That'll obviously come with release notes as well. Hopefully those release notes will be within the large language model so Sapphire can train you on how to use Sapphire. Sounds like it should work like that. Question, how does AgileBlue incorporate AI automation differently than its competitors? I don't know the answer to that question. It's a great question, but I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what every one of our competitors is doing. My job is to obsess over you, our customers, not our competitors. But I'm sure our competitors are utilizing similar things along the lines of LLMs, speed, auto remediation. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You know maybe more than me. All I can pledge to you is we're going to be taking in large amounts of data sets with our technology, creating tremendous value for our clients, and being able to move with a high degree of accuracy very, very fast to respond to things, automated or manually. All right, last question I have, and then we'll see if there's any others. And I told you you would get 7 or 8 minutes back to your day. Where do you draw the line where Sapphire is used and where human touch is needed? That is a fantastic question, and that's something our team is going to be working through with you. Those playbooks that we discuss, that we build with you, even as those playbooks become dynamic, it's going to be a little bit of sense of what people feel comfortable with. There's going to be some organizations that want Sapphire to move with a high, if you know you hit this degree of accuracy, move and make a decision. And there's going to be other organizations that don't care what the accuracy is. They want Sapphire to work with a human being and a human being to make a move. Wherever you might be on that spectrum, we're going to be able to work with you. We're not going to force you to do one or the other. You're probably going to be somewhere in the middle, and that's fine because this technology has a lot of room to grow. We're going to launch it when it's ready and it's proven. We're not just going to launch it to be cool. AgileBlue is not here to be cool. AgileBlue is here to launch tools that literally help you sleep at night, knowing this 24/7 team and this technology is there for you. So to answer that question quickly, the human touch will always be there with AgileBlue. All right, with that, we're done. If there's any other questions, I don't know if anybody, I see the Q&A. Those are the 6, 7 questions we've received. If anybody has any other questions, look, at the end of the day, AI is actually making an impact today. You can see 6 use cases right now, from threat prediction, fraud detection, behavioral analysis, phishing, which obviously generative AI can create some great looking phishing emails. We talked about our autonomous SOC and response, where AI is going to take that to the next level. And then, you know, everybody talks about the cyber expert people. There's not enough skilled people to hire. AI will help with that a lot. And that is going to be a big deal for all of us because hiring is difficult. Hiring great people is even more difficult. As you bring AI into it, it absolutely helps us when it comes to that. One other question just came in. Will any of these coming platform upgrades change email alert notification systems? Again, who's ever asking that question, thanks for the question. No, if you don't want it to change. When we build our playbooks with you, however you want us to communicate with you, if that's email, if that's Slack, if that's a phone call, a text message, Sapphire, whatever it might be, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you prefer, nothing's going to change from our end. We do see some customer behaviors changing with Sapphire that are going to want that speed and accuracy. But if there's other communication methods that you prefer, none of that's going away. Whatever you prefer, we will continue to make sure it works perfectly for you. Steve, any closing thoughts?
I'm, just like me and the rest of the team, we're very, very excited to end out this year, but even more excited for what we're able to bring in 2024.
Thank you so much, Steve, for walking the customers through this, and everybody on this call. We'll send you the deck. We'll send you the recording. I'm sure you don't want to listen to the recording again. Give it to someone who you don't like in your office, but you can look at the deck. The deck's got some good stuff in it. But any questions, please feel free to email me directly, tpetricole@agileblue.com. I understand I'm Italian. Name's a little bit hard to get. There you go. That's my cell phone. If you want to call, you can call me whenever you like. If I'm in a meeting with a client, I will call you back, I promise. But today was about you. This is where AgileBlue is taking our technology, making sure we're not just keeping up with what's happening. We're innovating because we are a SOC, we are a SOAR, we're developing the AI because we see how actually things work every single day over hundreds of customers with literally millions and millions of logs and alerts. So everybody, thank you so much for giving us 50 some minutes. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. If you use that coupon ticket tomorrow or later today, enjoy it. Thank you so much for being a customer of AgileBlue. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you.